My son Devin started using substances when he was 13. Um, Before that, when he was a young kid, he was anxious and he didn't like to be around people. He wouldn't look people in the eye. He was just very depressed. He wasn't really accepted by family. He was the kid that didn't like sports and so on. So we had an appointment, and it was with a certain psychiatrist, and they pretty much instantly dismissed us. And then, of course, 5 or 6 years later, Devin started using substances. At one point, when he was 13, he came to me and said, "Mom, I need help." And I said, "Okay, let's get some help for you." And then he chose not to because, he was a 13-year-old boy. And then there's this, gotta be a man, gotta suck it up, gotta pull myself up by the bootstraps. And so he didn't end up getting that help. He refused, and I couldn't make him. When he was 15, he became suicidal. So, thankfully, the counselor at the time at high school was absolutely phenomenal. He went out of his way to help us. So he went down to the hospital with both Devin and I, and Devin got admitted. And within, the first few hours, he was slapped on Ritalin. And then I think they did some, psycho-ed tests and IQ or whatever, and they discovered that he was in the 97th percentile for his intelligence. And I knew that. I knew he was incredibly smart and gifted musically. So at the end of his 3-day stay, I'm not even sure it was that, we had a meeting with the psychiatrist. And all she had to say was to look at Devin and say, "You should be ashamed for being an addict. You're in the 97th percentile for your intelligence," and off you go. So he came home with me. He curled up on his bed and he said I should have killed myself. So I marched him right back, told the psychiatrist she was fired and that he was staying in the hospital. And that was that. But it really undermined Devin's confidence in the system. And then when he was around 17, he started having trouble with his back. They discovered he had 3 bulging discs in his back. So he ended up having 3 different surgeries to his spine. And by the time he was 19, he ended up with very chronic, very severe, nerve damage, nerve pain. Yeah. So I would go to his follow-up appointments and appointments with his orthopedic surgeon. I'd push for a morphine script, one that was safe. He could go and take it at the pharmacist every day, as many times a day as he needed, or give him a short script. I would hold on to it, and the doctor said no, he's drug seeking. He has a history of drug use. Can't do that. He went to another psychiatrist and said, "Look, I really need help." She looked him square in the face and she said, "No, I can't help you until you're 6 months clean." So he did it. He got clean. I hate that word. For 6 months, went back to the psychiatrist and said, "I still really need help." "Well, you're not feeling good because you're not on drugs. You're not using." That's what he got. So he just walked away, and he had gone to the relapse prevention course, which also took 6 months. He had done CAMH for detox, and he was told that it would be at least 6 weeks before he got into the rehab thing. So of course he had relapsed, and he had relapsed before he even got into the relapse prevention course. But he did well in it. He he got a certificate on March 31st, and he died April 2nd of 2016, and he was 24. The week before he died, he was also getting a lot of pressure from himself, but also from other people to go to school, to, do all this stuff. Well, he had Hep C, a very rare type of Hep C. So that would mean that he would have to, detox. He would have to get on the Sovaldi. He was trying to apply for school. He really, really, really wanted to do sustainable farming and building. He didn't fit into the system, so his dream was to have a piece of land and, have a market garden and, live sustainably. And he always used to tell me, "Mom, you've taken care of me, so I want to take care of you now. So I want to build you a tiny home on my piece of land, and you can bake, and we can have chickens, and I can grow vegetables, and we can sell them and have this little place together." But that never came about. And he would come to my house. We would have breakfast every day. And one day before he died, he came and he was just weeping. And he said, I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I need to do all this stuff. And I just took his face in my hands and I said, "You don't need to do anything other than just be and give yourself time to heal, and then everything else will fall into place." Devin was so full of loathing and self-hatred, and yet he was the most amazing human. After he died, I got stories from people from work who had met him when they were homeless, and he would sit down with them and he would give them his blanket, and he would let them know where all the safe places were to sleep and places where they could get food or dumpster dive. Another story is he on the way back from the old beer store up on Cataraqui Street, on the way back, he saw this person sitting on the sidewalk with his feet on the street, looking really not okay, really, really sad. So he sat down with him, didn't know him from Adam, sat down with him and said, you look like you need a friend. And he handed him a beer and sat with him and that was Devin. That was Devin. And he exuded goodness and compassion and love and unconditional love and compassion. And I mean, that's what compassion is. You don't get to decide who deserves it and who's worthy. But stigma tells you that there are only certain people who deserve it, and that's just so not true. His death was completely preventable, and I felt helpless. I had tried everything. I had fought for him, and in the end, it didn't. None of it helped. None of it seemed to matter to people. Yeah.